Hello, I'm Sasha, and today I'm going to talk to you about the history of the English language. The English language has changed drastically over the course of history. From its inception in Anglo-Saxon England, it has constantly been adapted and contributed to from notable sources such as the Vikings and Shakespeare, and spread all over the world. While England is the birthplace of English, did you know at one point French was the main language used in England? The birth of the English language. The original natives of England were called Britons, and they spoke a Celtic language called Brittonic. The Roman Empire invaded Britain in 43 AD and occupied it until around the 5th century. They built roads, plumbing systems, founded the cities of London and Manchester, and introduced the Latin language. Latin was not fully used across the country. It was used in formal documentation and was spoken by the townspeople, but Brittonic was still used by labourers such as farmers. As the majority of the population were labourers, Brittonic was still the main language used in Britain. The Romans did not fully conquer Britain as they were called back to Rome due to attacks from barbarian tribes. Old English. After the Romans left, Germanic tribes moved in from Europe. The main tribes were the Angles, the Saxons, and the Utes, collectively known as the Anglo-Saxons. The Anglo-Saxon language was the earliest form of English, called Old English. Anglo-Saxon vocabulary had many words for everyday objects, so it was widely spoken in Britain due to its convenience. Later on, the Vikings added to the Anglo-Saxon language when they invaded Britain around the 800s. England wasn't called England at this point, as there wasn't a single tribe or people ruling the entire country. Instead, the country was divided, with the Anglo-Saxons occupying a lot of land in the south, and various other kingdoms and tribes ruling other parts of the country. Eventually, all of these kingdoms came together to form England, the name England coming from one of the original tribes, Angle and land. However, in 1066, the Duke of Normandy, William the Conqueror, invaded England and became king. William was said to have a deal with the previous king, Edward the Confessor, that William would be king after him. However, Edward apparently made his brother-in-law, Harold, king on his deathbed, so William went to war to claim the throne and won. He introduced the Anglo-Norman language, an old French dialect in place of Anglo-Saxon. Anglo-Norman was used in the law courts, schools, universities, and by the higher social classes, while commoners spoke English from the 12th to the 15th century. This lasted until the 100 Years' War from 1337 to 1453, where the English and French battled over the French throne. After the war, English became the main language in England again, yet French is still taught as a second language in middle schools in England. Middle English. After England had become an English-speaking country again, the English spoken was very different from Old English, spoken before William the Conqueror's invasion. English was largely spoken, but Latin was still used in written texts, so English had changed a lot. This form of English is called Middle English. Middle English had picked up French and Norman words, as well as had some changes in its grammar structure and pronunciation. Its written form had also changed, and English was now used in all spoken and written official records. Modern English. Middle English had changed once again after the Great Vowel Shift, where the pronunciation of long vowels changed. Spelling was becoming standardized, and the first English dictionaries were created. The Bible was translated from Latin to English, and all of this led to the foundation of English we use today. Vocabulary. As England had been home to so many different tribes, people, and cultures, English uses a mix of vocabulary from many different cultures and countries such as German, Dutch, French, and Latin. There are also notable people who have contributed many words to the English language. For example, William Shakespeare is credited with the creation of 1,700 new English words and creating new grammar concepts by connecting words that had never been used together before. He added prefixes and suffixes, and he also changed nouns to verbs. Advances in science and technology created even more new English words. The British Empire. As England built its massive empire between the 16th and the 19th century, the English language was spread all over the world, forming new variations of the language in North America, Australia, South Africa, and so on. This led to different spellings, different words, and different accents of English, like America not using the letter U in spellings of certain words like color and neighbor, or the pronunciation of water. The digital age. The birth of the internet and text messaging gave rise to the use of more acronyms such as BRB for Be Right Back and LOL for Laugh Out Loud, which slowly worked their way into conversational speech. This trend of shortening words and phrases continues with the younger generation, to the point where the English language can sound awkward and difficult to understand to a non-native speaker. Incorrect grammar is much more common in everyday speech, which can lead to learners of the English language picking up bad habits. While English is a language that has constantly been changing throughout history, many would argue that the direction it is heading in is not for the better. I hope you enjoyed learning about the history of the English language. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.